In the grand chambers of the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin once believed in a powerful legend. It was an idea he convinced himself and his allies to accept, that Turkey, the second largest army in NATO, held a special, respectful place within the Western alliance. To him, Turkey was a key player, one that acknowledged Moscow's sensitivities. But all that certainty is now in doubt. The mighty table between Russia and Turkey has been shattered. The winds once gently blowing over the Black Sea have shifted direction, fueling a storm of change. The first crack in this alliance appeared over oil. Turkey, which had become Russia's third largest oil customer after India and China, suddenly cut back sharply. Within just a month, Turkey reduced its imports of Russian crude oil by a staggering one-third. In November, reports said Turkey imported 100,000 barrels fewer per day, falling from 300,000 to 200,000 barrels. This sudden drop sent shockwaves through Kremlin logistics, threatening to choke the flow of vital resources. It was not just about oil, it was a message, loud and clear, that Turkey was no longer a passive participant. While Europe debates endlessly over sanctions, a quieter, yet equally significant shift is brewing in Ankara. Long seen as a mediator, Turkey is now shifting gears, no longer just talking, but preparing to act decisively. Alongside Paris and London, Ankara has devised a plan that could alter history itself. Turkish troops are moving to the front lines, an unprecedented step onto Ukrainian soil. This isn't a peacekeeping operation, it's a strategic move, a move that challenges Moscow's dominance over the Black Sea, a region Putin claims as his backyard. As flames flicker from burnt Russian ships off Turkey's coast, Ankara's message is unmistakable, a clear boundary drawn in the sea. Anyone attempting to cross risks facing NATO's second-largest army. Behind closed doors, diplomatic efforts have crafted this bold architecture, delicate, precise, and with far-reaching implications. French President Emmanuel Macron announced the plan publicly. After the ceasefire, a multinational force will be deployed in Ukraine. The core members? France, the United Kingdom, and Turkey, three nations with centuries of military history. This force, dubbed the second line of defense, isn't meant for combat. It's a shield, protecting critical Ukrainian centers like Kiev and Odessa, making it impossible for Russia to breach the peace accord and attack again. When Turkish soldiers patrol Odessa, they aren't just protecting a port, they're warning Putin, cross this line, and you face NATO's might. Sources from Ankara confirm that Turkey is ready. The armed forces are on standby, waiting for the okay to act. But the question remains, what triggered this seismic shift from diplomatic talk to tangible force? The answer lies in a series of provocations, tensions brewing beneath diplomatic surface. Russia's recent missteps in the Black Sea ignited the powder keg. The crisis started with a seemingly small maritime dispute, an attempt to reopen a ferry route between Trabzon and Sochi after 14 years. The ship, carrying passengers and cargo, reached Russian waters on November 5 but was detained, delayed, then turned back. Moscow claimed a lack of documents, but the message was unmistakable, they were sending a warning. Turkey's response was swift. Russia's pride vessel, the luxury cruise ship Astoria Grande, was blocked from docking in Istanbul. The ship circled the Marmara Sea, but Turkish authorities refused entry, turning thousands of Russian tourists away. These weren't isolated incidents, they were part of a broader diplomatic chess match. Russia sought to humiliate Turkey, but Ankara reminded Moscow who controls access to the Black Sea. Now, these tensions have shifted from diplomatic battles at ports to real front lines with armored vehicles replacing ships. The Black Sea, once a conduit for commerce, now roars with the sounds of explosions, fires, and smoke. The war has crept dangerously close to Turkey's shores. Ukrainian intelligence, using small sea drones called sea babies, has targeted Russian shadow ships, mysterious vessels operating under false flags, attempting to evade sanctions. Recently, two such tankers, Karaz and Virat, were struck within 28 and 35 nautical miles off Istanbul's coast. The echo of explosions still rings in the air. These strikes reveal Russia's vulnerability. The Karaz, hiding behind Gambian registration, was just one of many trying to shield tankers worth around $70 million. The attack was precise, Ukrainian forces using military-grade drones with advanced warheads, striking at Moscow's economic lifeline. Turkish officials confirmed external interference, no doubt, a calculated move by Ukraine to weaken Russia's oil revenue. For Erdogan, the message is clear: the Black Sea security is crumbling. The region's stability erodes as Russian ships burn and drift, mines scatter across the waters. Erdogan's warning echoes across the coast: Turkey's navy is rising, ready to impose order. If Russia can't safeguard its tankers in Turkish waters, it has no hope of controlling Ukraine's future. This is the dawn of a new era. Erdogan's decision to send troops to Ukraine is not an impulsive act, it's a strategic move to seize control of the chaos. Amidst ships ablaze and missiles flying, Turkey is signaling that it's no longer a mediator, it's a regional power determined to shape the future. What does this mean for global geopolitics? Erdogan is playing a complex game, outflanking Russia, yet maintaining channels to Putin. He's acting as a guarantor, preventing Russia from reasserting dominance over Ukraine and reoccupying its territories. This shift threatens Russia's dream of re-establishing its influence across Eastern Europe. For years, Moscow believed it could pull Turkey away from the West. The S-400 crisis, nuclear projects, diplomatic overtures, all aimed to sway Ankara. But now, Erdogan's moves have transformed him into a defender, standing guard over regional stability. The message to Moscow? No more free rein. We control access. We dictate the pace. Meanwhile, even as Macron and the UK craft their plans, Ankara's strategic posture makes it clear: Turkey is the only power capable of stopping Russia in its tracks. The game has changed. The Black Sea is no longer a calm trade route but a battleground, where fires burn and alliances shift. Every explosion, every ship struck, echoes a new chapter, one in which Turkey's role as a regional guardian becomes undeniable. The question remains: how far will Ankara go to preserve its influence, and perhaps, define the entire future of Eastern Europe? Building on the shocking revelation that burning Russian tankers near Turkey's shores forced Ankara to redraw the lines in the Black Sea, declaring it would confront any ceasefire violators with NATO's might, a hidden masterpiece of diplomacy unfurls in secret rooms. What if the Kremlin's cold comfort in believing in a pliant Turkey shatters under a tidal wave of consequences? Imagine the clenched fists of Russian strategists as leaked details promise not just a defense, but a noose tightening around their ambitions, chilling them to the bone. The blueprint for this bold maneuver emerged quietly, crafted with the precision of a shadow game among experts. Picture the hushed whispers in dimly lit chambers, the rustle of papers in the night air, each decision etched by the weight of centuries-old alliances. Yet, fragments seeping through the cracks promise a devastating chill for Moscow's leaders. French President Emmanuel Macron unveiled it effortlessly, his voice steady like a hammer on steel, commanding global attention. As per Macron, right after any ceasefire, a united multinational security force lands on Ukrainian soil. This elite group draws from titans of Europe's martial legacy: France, the United Kingdom, and Turkey, forged over generations of conflict. Dubbed the second line of defense, it stands not for frontline brawls and scorching battlefields, but to shield Ukraine's deepest vulnerabilities, cities pulsing with life like Kiev and Odessa. The goal? To bar Russia from shattering any peace, launching another onslaught. Visualize Turkish troops stationed at Odessa's bustling harbor. The salty breeze carrying echoes of distant waves, their presence a silent yet deafening threat to Putin. Dare to unleash missiles again, and you'll clash with not just Ukraine's grit, but the unyielding might of NATO's top powers. Confirmed by Turkish insiders, Ankara signals readiness at the highest echelons, poised to unleash its armed forces' stabilizing force for the region's calm, the moment approvals and duties align. But what ignited this transformation from mediators' dialogues to fielding a peacekeeping army eyeballing Russian forces? This evolution wasn't sudden. It erupted from a volcano of simmering insults and measured retaliations on the diplomatic stage. Remember Russia's reckless poke at Turkey's resolve in the Black Sea's choppy expanse? One flashpoint started as a mundane sea ordeal. The Turkish ferry, Sea Bridge, dreamed of reconnecting Trabzon and Sochi after 14 dormant years, arriving off Sochi's mist-shrouded coast on November 5, laden with travelers, aspirations, and trade visions, its hull rocking against relentless currents. It was marooned for days amid the tempest. Russian officials cited drills, then paperwork gaps, barring entry and forcing a humiliated retreat to Trabzon. This wasn't mere red tape, it stung as Moscow's brazen insult to Ankara, taunting, "Your vessel stays out of our waters." But in their oversight, they ignored Turkey's grip on vital passages, the gates to the Black Sea. Moscow's backlash was vicious, asymmetry in its blow. Russia's jewel, the opulent cruise liner Astoria Grande, ferrying over 600 holidaymakers through exotic dreams, hit an impenetrable barricade of Turkish red tape en route to Istanbul's gleaming docks. Circling the Marmara Sea for agonizing hours under the sun's glare, denied passage, it endured the same delays, amplified by bureaucracy's vice. Passengers peered at Constantinople's mosques from afar, their marvels just out of reach, as Ricochet unfolded, Turkey's calculated payback. Feel the sting of that irony, the acrid smoke of thwarted expectations. Such incidents transcended ship logs. They were jests on the geostrategic board, Russia belittling Turkey, Turkey reasserting dominion over sea lanes. Now, this friction morphs from docks to war fronts, from civilian ships to rumbling armored beasts. Turkey forges a fresh shield with Western kin, invading what Putin deemed his exclusive domain. But Ankar's pivot transcends petty spats. The Black Sea, once a thoroughfare of prosperity, now reeks of charred fuel and reverberating blasts, a danger zone flaring too near Turkish frontiers. Russia's clandestine fleet, rickety, uninsured hulks evading Western clamps, faces annihilation by Ukrainian intelligence prowess. Ukraine's security service morphs the sea into a death trap for Russian vessels via agile sea baby drones. The freshest evidence lies in twin strikes. Russia-owned shadow tankers Karaz and Berat succumbed one by one, mere 28 and 35 nautical miles offshore from Turkey, virtually at Istanbul's doorstep. Taste the bitterness of that proximity, the distant thunders rolling like unwelcome guests. Technically, Karaz masqueraded under a Gambian guise. Berat bore US and EU sanctions marks. Targeted by Ukraine's 13th Military Counterintelligence Unit, they fell to drones wielding advanced explosives. Turkey's transport minister amplified the alarm. It involved external meddling, mines, projectiles, or unmanned flyers. Russian vessels detonated practically in full view of Turkish watchers, pendulums swinging hard. This wasn't random. Ukraine strikes at the Kremlin's financial lifeline, war's petrol. Those tankers, hauling cargoes valued near $70 million, crippled Moscow's economy and supply chains. For Turkey, it signals the abyss, Russia's inability to secure the Black Sea, its mastery unraveling where it fails guarding tankers. Echoes from Turkish President Erdogan underscored this peril. Alarm bells rang as he proclaimed the Russia-Ukraine strike brushing Turkey's threshold. Post-Shadow Fleet assaults, he highlighted Black Sea security's fragility. Herein lies Ankar's peace force essence. If Moscow invites mayhem, flammable carriers sinking, wandering ordnance, Turkey, the sea's naval hegemon, might intervene as the stabilizer. No longer trusting Russian whims for coastal safety, troop dispatch aims to quell chaos at its fount, the war itself. Against blazing tanker fumes, Erdogan whispers to Putin, with your covert armada imperiled in my seas, you alone can't orchestrate Ukraine's fate. What's the seismic ripple of this play? Erdogan's scheme exceeds mere deployments, a labyrinthine blockade isolating Russia in Black Sea and Eastern calculations. He undermines Russian bedrock strategies sans severing private channels with Putin. Remember, Turkey hosted Istanbul negotiations, enabling grain pathways. Erdogan's intermediary feats in prisoner swaps altered landscapes. Yet now, it evolves as guarantor, a Kremlin nightmare, NATO's shadow barring future Ukrainian reconquests. As Turkey marches on, Russia's tableau shifts. Putin long fancied detaching Turkey from Western folds, S-400 standoffs, reactor ventures, all ploys. This maneuver, though, blasts a crystal message to EU and NATO partners, I'm the sole bulwark against Russia. Macron orates, Britain plots, but Turkey alone plants boots on. In the shadow of long-standing diplomatic games, Turkey's sudden turn from mediator to a force ready to confront Russia wasn't born in a day. It erupted from a buildup of missteps and retaliatory chess moves, where Moscow foolishly challenged Ankara's resolve in the choppy waters of the Black Sea. Picture that, what began as a minor port standoff ignited a firestorm, transforming ferry routes into battlegrounds of pride and power. But what if I told you Russia forgot one golden key? The key that locks the Black Sea itself, held tightly by Turkey. Feel the salty spray on your skin, hear the rhythmic thump of waves against the hull, as a Turkish ferry, dubbed the Sea Bridge, steamed towards Sochi on November 5 after a 14-year void in cruises between Trabzon and Russia. Laden with eager passengers, their laughter mingling with the hum of engines, dreams of reuniting coasts alive and pulsing. Yet, icy Russian waters turned hostile. Officials delayed the vessel for days under the guise of drills and paperwork snafus, forcing it to churn aimlessly in the open expanse. Denied entry to Sochi, the ship retreated, humiliated, back to Turkish shores, a stinging blow from Moscow, whispering, "Your vessel stays out." But oh, how Moscow underestimated the depth of that key's power. Ankar's retribution was swift, sharper, a bureaucratic blockade that left Russia's flagship Astoria Grande circling the Marmara Sea like a trapped whale, its 600 passengers gazing longingly at Istanbul's glittering skyline, the distant calls of muezzins echoing unheard. Doors slammed shut, no mercy for their refined cabins or gourmet meals aboard. Revenge tasted sweet as Soviets watched Turkish landmarks slip away, returning home empty-handed, pockets and pride lighter. Was this mere squabble over docking fees? No, it screamed a lesson. Russia sought to demean, Turkey roared back, asserting dominion over the straits, the very artery of the Black Sea. Now, the fight spills beyond harbors, morphing from floating decks to rumbling armor, Erdogan forging alliances with the West in what Putin deemed his private sea. Yet, this pivot wasn't fueled by ego alone. The Black Sea docks morphed into a furnace of warfare, acrid smoke of scorched fuel fouling the air, tremors from distant blasts vibrating through the water. Can you smell the burnt metal, sense the ocean's unsettled fury? And this chaos lapped perilously close to Turkey's borders, where Russia's shadowy fleet, clandestine tankers dodging sanctions, rusty hulks brimming with danger, became prey for Ukraine's keen-eyed SBU. Drones dubbed sea babies hunted relentlessly, turning waves into a graveyard. Just 28 to 35 nautical miles off the Turkish coast, near Istanbul's watchful gaze, tankers Karaz and Dorad erupted in flame, one flying Gambia's flag as a mask, the other long flagged for US and EU wrath. Ukrainian navies, armed with upgraded warheads, struck hard under the SBU's 13th unit. Turkey's transport minister confirmed it. External forces, mines, projectiles, UAVs, torpedoed not just ships but precious cargo, lodging an economic punch worth $70 million apiece to Moscow's veins. But the stench for Ankara ran deeper. Russia's boasts of Black Sea mastery crumbled, unable to shield their own lifeline. Erdogan's words thundered, warning that the conflict slammed against Turkey's threshold, peril hanging over the whole sea. Amid flickering debris, his peacekeepers' thrust emerges as orders shield, halting the spill of madness from frontline flames. Erdogan whispers to Putin, "With your shadow navy aflame in my domain, you won't script Ukraine's fate in isolation." Eyeing the horizon, as smoke curls and steel clangs in the distance, what if this is the moment Russia realizes its backyard is now a besieged fortress? And on the edge of Odessa's docks, where Turkish boots might soon land, will Vlad's empire truly shatter, or will he unleash a tempest we least expect? The Black Sea's underbelly churns with secrets, and Ankara holds the reins. In the shadowed halls of the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin clutched to admit that Turkey, with NATO's second-largest army, might dimly align against the West's grip on his home turf. But now, tables turn as seas roil and alliances shatter under the weight of oil fires and distant blasts. Winds shift, dragging rivalries into the storm. As Erdogan erects bold defenses with Western pals in Putin's claimed domain. Yet, his shift isn't just barbs traded in meetings. The Black Sea, once a vibrant trade artery, now chokes on the stench of charred fuel, rocked by thunderous bursts echoing across choppy waves. Do you feel the acrid bite in the air, the salt spray stinging your skin as chaos laps at every shore? And Turkey's coast feels the heat next, doesn't it? Can you imagine the roar of unseen blasts waking Istanbul's harbors at night? Here comes the twist. Russia's notorious shadow fleet, those shabby, unprotected tankers dodging sanctions, now hunted like prey by Ukraine's sharp-eyed watchers, the ESBU. Ukrainian forces are drowning the Black Sea in Russian wrecks, wielding sea drones dubbed Sea Baby. Their newest strike? Stark proof unfolding under the moon. Two shadow fleet vessels, Kairos and Virat, blasted back-to-back, mere 28 and 35 nautical miles from Turkey's edge, almost brushing Istanbul's bustling docks. Feel the rumble vibrating through the water, the oily slick tasting bitter on the breeze. Russia's weakness shines in the deed. Kairos cowered under a fake Gambian banner. Virat? Already blacklisted by the United States and European Union. Ukrainian whispers claim ESBU's 13th Military Counterintelligence Unit unleashed naval drones with beefed-up payloads piercing through metal. Turkey's transport minister? He confirmed the dread. External meddling, mines, projectiles, or unmanned aerial vehicles. In plain truth, those Russian hulls detonated under Ankara's watchful eyes. Why now, here of all spots? No random gamble. Ukraine strikes Moscow's lifeblood, slashing the Kremlin's fuel reserves powering their relentless push. Losing these vessels? A petroleum haul valued at roughly $70 million. Disaster for Russia's wallets and wrenching snarls in their supply chains. But for Turkey, it cuts deeper. Can Russia truly guard the Black Sea's wild margins? Their grip on control crumbles, exposed as they fail to shield their own shadowed cargoes from the shadows. Turkey's leader raised the horn, warning with thunder. The clash between Russia and Ukraine now rages at Turkey's threshold. See the flames licking at distant hulls, hear the groans of buckling steel as the seas boil over. What secret verdict will ripple through the depths next? Following the recent attack on Russia's shadow navy near Turkish waters, Erdogan's warning echoed loudly. He declared that the entire Black Sea's security was under threat, a startling revelation. Now, Ankara's silent but powerful move gains clarity, the Peace Force initiative. If Russia plunges the Black Sea into chaos, with tankers exploding and mines drifting aimlessly, Turkey, as the region's biggest naval force, sees no choice but to restore order. No longer does Turkey leave its coast unprotected, relying solely on Moscow's promises. The decision to dispatch forces to Ukraine isn't just about diplomacy, it's a strategy to stop the chaos at its root, the war itself. As smoke rises from burning Russian ships, Erdogan subtly sends a message to Vladimir Putin: in waters where your shadow fleet is vulnerable, you can't decide Ukraine's future on your own. What could this mean for global geopolitics? Erdogan is wielding more than military muscle. He's orchestrating a complex diplomatic siege, aiming to isolate Russia fully in the Black Sea and Eastern Europe. Without severing ties with Putin, Erdogan plays a delicate game, undermining Russia's strategic aims while maintaining dialogue. Remember, it was Turkey that triggered the Istanbul talks and opened the grain corridor. Its diplomatic efforts and prisoner exchanges shifted the entire scene. Now, Turkey steps into the role of guarantor, a move Moscow fears most. A guarantor status means stopping Moscow's dream of reasserting control over Ukraine with NATO's backing. As Erdogan pushes forward, the picture on the Russian side begins to change. For years, Putin believed he could pull Turkey away from the West, through the S-400 crisis, nuclear projects, and alliance building. But with this new move, Erdogan signals he's no longer a mediator alone, he's a gatekeeper. The threat looms: if even your shadow fleet is compromised within my waters, can you still decide Ukraine's fate? The Black Sea's control is slipping from Russia's grasp. Erdogan's strategy isn't just about military strength, it's about rewriting the balance of power. How will Moscow respond? Will Russia attempt to strike back in the shadows, or will this move force a new diplomatic reckoning? The coming days will reveal whether this new play by Turkey can truly destabilize Russia's ambitions or if it will tighten the noose even further. In recent months, a seismic shift has unfolded on the geopolitical stage. Imagine the Black Sea transforming into a battleground of unseen battles. The echoes of war are no longer confined to distant ports but now reach Turkey's very shores. How could a country once playing mediator become a fierce protector of its borders? Stay tuned, because what's happening now could redefine global power forever. Turkey's strategic move sends shockwaves through Europe and beyond. For years, President Erdogan played the role of peacemaker, balancing relations with Moscow and the West. But now, he's sending a clear, powerful message: I am the sole force capable of halting Russia's ambitions. While French President Macron broadcasts plans for international peacekeeping, Turkey quietly readies its troops for a different mission. It's not just about diplomacy anymore, it's about deploying a force that can stare down Moscow itself. Can anyone in Kremlin ignore this rising power? Erdogan's actions are tearing apart Russia's core strategy of controlling Ukraine and its nearby allies. No longer can Russia claim a free pass to station troops or control the Black Sea. Turkey is now sealing off that escape route. The once quiet Montreux Straits are now harnessed as Turkey's weapon. The Navy's freedom to sail is cut off, as Ankara transforms the straits into a fortress. Imagine the sensation of hardened steel, the smell of salt and oil in the air, as Turkey's Navy enforces this new lockdown. Meanwhile, Turkey's political calculus grows ever bolder. It's deploying peacekeeping troops into Ukraine, an act of bold defiance that sends a message to the world. If Russia pushes further, Turkish soldiers will stand firm, backed by NATO's strongest allies. What can Russia do when the Black Sea Rim is now a battlefield of deterrence? Their ships, old, dangerous, shadowy, are being targeted like fish in a barrel by Ukrainian sea drones. 2 Russian vessels, the Karaz and Arat, were just struck, mere miles off the Turkish coast, striking a nerve deep within Moscow. These ships, cloaked in false flags and under sanctions, were obliterated by modern naval drones. The timing is no coincidence. Ukraine is attacking the very lifeblood of Russia's war effort. Moscow's hope of ruling these waters is crumbling under the weight of Turkey's rising influence. Turkish transport minister's words echo like a warning from the depths: external interference, mines, missiles, our waters are no longer safe. It's a stark realization: Russia's grip on the Black Sea is slipping. President Erdogan's alarm rings loud and clear: the war's reach now touches Turkey's very doorstep. The sound of explosions, smoke lingering in the cool air, signals a shifting tide. In response, Turkey is prepared to act, deploying its formidable navy to secure the region. This isn't just about protecting borders, it's about asserting dominance in a conflict that threatens to spill into Turkish waters. Erdogan sends a message to Putin: if even your shadow fleet isn't safe in my waters, how can you control Ukraine? How long before Turkey's intervention becomes undeniable? The world is watching as Ankara transforms from a mediator to a guardian, shaping the future of the Black Sea and challenging Russia's ambitions. The game of power has entered a new, dangerous phase. Will Moscow accept this new reality, or will it risk everything to regain control? The stakes have never been higher. This is a story of rising nations, silent wars, and a bold new order in the midst of chaos. While Russia blocked a humble ferry in Sochi, thinking it scored a petty win, it unleashed a storm of defeat by inviting Turkish troops onto Ukraine's key battlegrounds. The dancing flames and acrid smoke from sinking Russian tankers still hung thick in the air, a bitter odor of burning fuel mingling with saltwater spray on NATO's doorstep. Can you feel the tremors? This wasn't just port drama, it was Erdogan's masterful strike, turning a rejected ship into a raised flag over vital cities like Kiev and Odessa. Shocking, right? Erdogan took revenge for that small ferry turned away from Sochi by raising the Turkish flag in Ukraine's most critical cities. This is the most asymmetrical and effective response that can be seen in international relations. If Putin strikes a French base, he will face not just the Ukrainian army, but a NATO force with direct nuclear capability. These troops are not going there to dig in at the front lines and fight the Russians hand-to-hand. They are going there to create no-go zones with their presence. They are also, did such a minor humiliation birth such a colossal backlash? The cold steel of Turkish warships cutting through stormy waves carried not just steel, but a silent vow of dominance. Lights from distant ships blinked like warnings in the fog, as the sounds of creaking hulls and distant thunders echoed Moscow's shattered pride. Why settle for whispers when boots on the ground scream volumes? Imagine the Kremlin's shock: one denied ferry, multiplied into tanks patrolling their dreamland. In the Black Sea, Russian ambitions crumbled faster than a sinking tanker. Awakening a brutal new reality as 2025 neared its murky end. The conflict in Ukraine transcended a simple clash between Kiev and Moscow, morphing into a fierce arena shaping the Black Sea's destiny, where giants clashed, and Ankara emerged as the ultimate game-changer. Facing an embargo on their pride, the Astoria Grande lingered in the Marmara Sea, passengers' murmurs turning to frustrated shouts against barred docks. The stench of oil-slicked water pervaded everything, a tactile reminder of crumbling facades. Were these just port squabbles, or cracks in an empire? The Turkish armed forces prepared to enter as peacekeepers, not conquerors, but as guardians of calm. Yet for Russia, this heralded doom worse than any NATO weapon, nailing shut Putin's visions of devouring Ukraine. Flickers of flame from the Kairos and Arat tankers lingered over the Black Sea, their fates sealed in smoke billowing like dark omens. Amid this chaos, Ankar's bold choice thundered through the air, a reverberation of power that mocked Moscow's playbook. Kurtai-Qatar was saying, in essence, if peace talks commence, we'll preside, and any who dare topple the table will confront. Now, feel the shift? This wasn't posturing, it marked the dawn of a transformed age, with steps resonating in Turkish resolve. Creaks of decks and the sharp bite of sea winds hinted at deeper maneuvers. Who might such an alliance unsettle next? Revealed now, the duo joining Ankara weren't random, France and the United Kingdom, not the likes of Germany or Italy. Why them specifically? Their boots on Ukrainian soil carried cryptic weight. Far beyond mere manpower. Soldiers' boots thudded against earth, the weight of history pressing down like an unspoken threat. How did nuclear whispers enter this fray? Suddenly, it clicks, nations with nuclear might on Europe's soil stand with Turkey in this triad. In military tactics, this forms a tripwire unit, the concept lethal in its starkness. Touch this force, and nuclear fury awaits. Was this mere companionship or a shadowed shield against Russian aggression? The French and British uniforms on Ukrainian ground cloaked arsenals from Paris and London, a colossal deterrent. Thunderous echoes of past conflicts vibrated through the soil, while the metallic tang of weaponry reminded all of stakes. Are we witnessing the end of Putin's illusions, or just the prologue to larger fallout? In the quiet depths of global power plays, a new formidable alliance emerges, shaking the foundations of regional control. Imagine the colossal crunch of military boots on Ukrainian soil, carrying the nuclear strength of France and the United Kingdom. These aren't ordinary troops, they are what the military knows as a tripwire force, an invisible yet relentless barrier designed to deter escalation. Their mission isn't just to fight, it's to create zones where war cannot ignite, walls impossible for missiles to breach. This strategy, carefully crafted by Macron, injects an unsettling layer of strategic uncertainty. The deployment aims at securing the right bank of the Dnieper River, especially along the Belarusian border. Can you picture it? The most elite Ukrainian brigades, the finest trained soldiers, waiting silently in trenches, eyes fixed on the horizon, unsure if the storm will come from the north or not. Now, as these powerful NATO units move into position, they will lift these soldiers from their waiting lines, unleashing a fresh tide of military strength right where Russia struggles the most, the eastern Donbass. This is no ordinary escalation. It's a calculated move that rattles the Kremlin to its core. General Gerasimov, Russia's top military strategist, understands fully, NATO troops on Ukrainian soil, even in a non-combat role, double the fighting potential of Ukrainian forces. It's a game-changer, without firing a single shot. But London's influence extends even further. British intelligence masterminds the technological blockade in the Black Sea, destabilizing Russia's shadow fleet, crippling its air defenses over Crimea. Their operations are stealthy, precise, and deadly, tying the Kremlin in knots. Now combine this with Turkish naval deterrence and France's diplomatic shield, and the picture is clear. The chessboard of warfare is shifting. But what secret moves are being made behind closed doors? How much more chaos is lurking just beyond sight? The stage is set for a confrontation that could redefine regional dominance, faster than anyone expects. Are the walls closing in on the Kremlin? Or is there still a power hidden in shadows, waiting to strike? The Shadow Fleet's destruction and the jamming of Russian air defenses in Crimea are clear signs of London's covert strategy against Russia. Now, this approach is merging with Turkey's navy deterrence and France's diplomatic protections. The puzzle is finally coming together. What was once a loose support network for Ukraine is transforming into a formidable alliance. This coalition can strip Russia of its escalation power, reach the front lines, and tell Putin, you cannot go any further. This shift signals a potential turning point. Putin's nuclear threats have begun to collapse under the weight of these nuclear-armed nations. And now, the Shadow Fleet's vessels might not even be safe in Turkish waters anymore. The Russian military may soon face a new, NATO-backed boundary that it cannot cross. In essence, signs point to 2025 becoming the year when the West no longer simply supplies weapons, it asserts its presence decisively. The days of silence at that long table in the Kremlin could become deafening. A new chapter is unfolding, one where Russia's dominance is challenged directly. What do you believe? Can Turkey, backed by France and the UK, checkmate Putin's ambitions? Will this alliance finally curb Russia's relentless push forward? Share your thoughts below. Your voice matters.